I remember asking, because I found out that spirits around, they're always around. And so I thought, okay, something said, like, ask them to do something. So I remember the first time they knocked on the wall, and it was like, oh, it's not just the house creaking. It was actually spirit trying to get my attention. And this is back when I was in my 20s. And I would just remember that every time that I would hear a knock on the walls, I would always say, hi, not knowing who was there, not knowing anything, but just acknowledging them because of something that I wanted. And I remember one day I was in the shower and I heard my name, Kathy, and I opened the door going, yes. Now, normally I should have been terrified because I was the only one in the house and I'm butt naked. And I just thought it was rather funny because I started hearing out of my ears a little bit more of where they're trying to get my attention. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we're streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. The purpose of the show is to help you realize that you are not alone, that you are in control of your life. It doesn't matter where you came from or what your circumstances are. We've all experienced pain, suffering, hurt, abandonment, loneliness, and hopelessness. This show is here to help you turn those dark moments around to create a whole new you. Despite your success, have you felt lonely, angry, frustrated, or even suicidal? Do you long to be supported, recognized, and respected for who you are, and not just for the accolades and the awards on your walls? You don't want to be known, identified, or remembered in a way that feels fraudulent because you achieve things out of obligation and not passion. Do you find yourself sitting at lunch listening to things that light you up only to feel shame, fear, frustration, and resentment? Your inner turmoil and limiting beliefs surface, making you feel not good enough and afraid of doing something different. You've read the books, you've attended the seminars, and you practice the new concepts and principles, yet you still find yourself in the same rut. The lies you tell yourself perpetuate a cycle of disappointment. You say you'll change, but your self-limiting beliefs keep running the show, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. As a certified coach, I empower you to become your authentic self. My Soul Journey program aligns with your true self and guides you to help you find your soul vision, helping you discover your purpose in life. I provide tools to step into your true magnificence and remember who you are. If you're interested in learning more, contact me at bravetv at KathleenMFlanagan.com. And each week I start the show with the sound of the tuning forks, bringing in love, happiness, and balance. And this sets the tone for the show and brings out the best in both me and my guests. So let's begin. Today I wanted to talk about steps that you can begin to elevate your spiritual journey. And this is something that's really important. We are in a time that life is changing drastically and there's so much change. And I know a lot of times we feel like it's overwhelming and it's hard to cope with, and it is. But if you stay in and start developing your own spiritual practices, then you can ease some of the tension and you get back into center with yourself. And one of the first ways to start your spiritual journey is you want to recognize the inner calls. And these are signs that you're already ready to begin. So a lot of times when I first started doing this, I remember asking, because I found out that spirits around, they're always around. And so I thought, okay, something said, like, ask them to do something. So I remember the first time they knocked on the wall and it was like, oh, it's not just the house creaking, it was actually spirit trying to get my attention. And this is back when I was in my 20s. And I would just remember that every time that I would hear a knock on the walls, I would always say, "Hi," not knowing who was there, not knowing anything, but just acknowledging them because of something that I wanted. And I remember one day I was in the shower and I heard my name, Kathy, and I opened the door going, yes. Now, normally I should have been terrified because I was the only one in the house and I'm butt naked. And I just thought it was rather funny because I started hearing out of my ears a little bit more of where they're trying to get my attention. And that was a big sign for me that, okay, so I'm not alone. So what else can I do? And I didn't have a lot of fear. I think the first time I heard a knock on the wall, I was a little afraid because I asked for them to give me a sign and was like, whoa, what do I do here? And I felt a little fearful and a little uncertain, but I didn't feel threatened in any way. So I just kept moving forward. Now, I didn't know a lot about mindfulness back then because those were not words that we had back then. But I did start meditating. I created things about the chakras. I created like my own little chakra balance thing back then. And I wanted to clear the chakras and really understand what that was. So it was just different forms of meditation that I did. Candle exercise was really huge because when I got into the School of Metaphysics, they had us do a candle exercise. And every time your mind wandered, you just put a little mark on the paper. Now, I've given this exercise. I'm not even sure if it's on my website anymore, but I know I've talked about it and I've given it to people in the past. And it's just a great way to help learn how to quiet your mind because we don't realize how much our mind talks to us and never stops talking. And when you're doing a candle exercise and you're just focusing on it and you've got the pencil and you just make a mark and you go to the next one. It was it was something that I started doing because I remember when I first started meditating and I would spend hours because I had nothing else to do. So I spent hours doing this. And I just remember how long it took for my mind to finally quiet. And now I have a quiet mind. And it was just a practice. And I would do a couple hours on Sunday afternoon to create that meditation practice. And today, because our world is a little bit more evolved, mindfulness to me is just paying attention. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What's going on in your world? And just really pay attention to what comes up because a lot of times everything that comes towards us is something that we are here to learn and do. And then keeping a spiritual journal is another really good way. And I did that a lot because I was a writer anyways, and I didn't understand a lot of stuff and I wanted to get it out of my head. So I would write things. And writing a journal is really kind of an interesting thing because you don't realize how much you're changing when you start embarking in on a spiritual practice or things are moving or you're feeling better. You don't always notice things like that because they become routine in your mind. And it was just a great way because I go back to some of my journals and I'm like, oh my God, wow, that's where I used to think and feel. So it was really a cool place to be because of just watching my own personal evolution over the years. And then, of course, you want to explore different modalities. Like I got into the chakras, I got into meditation. Energy healing wasn't real big yet. We weren't into Reiki or anything. That wasn't there, but I knew how to remove pain from people. I took it on myself. I didn't know how to get rid of it. I just knew how to get rid of it off of them. And then I took it on to transmute it, not understanding that. And so when I was doing that, I was always looking for more things. I've never stopped that because then crystals show up and I get into crystals. Sound comes up and I get into sound. Aromatherapy came up and I got into aromatherapy. I never did Reiki. I did inner guide meditations. I can do Akashic record readings. I knew how to do the tarot. So I played, the runes were another one that I did back then. And I still have all these tools and I still play with them every now and then. Not a whole lot because I'm feel more connected, and I hear and trust my intuition a lot differently. But these are some really great ways to start. I mean, just be curious would be one of the things that I would recommend, is being curious about what is it that interests you? What is there a healing modality out there? Is there something that you want to do? And I promise you that if you want to learn more, the people will arrive that will help you, because when you move forward, spirit comes towards you as well. You also want to start building your confidence within your own gifts, because when you're practicing or trying things out, you're meditating, you're still feeling insecure. You don't talk to a lot of people yet. But you have to start trusting in your own ability. Now, I knew what I was capable of doing, but I never shared it with anyone because I didn't want anybody to know. It was just easier for me at that time and I look at most of the time when I did things is I was always hidden, because what I was doing for myself and for the planet was none of anybody's business. And I wasn't looking for recognition and look at me and charging tens of thousands of dollars or any of that. It was about, this was for me. And I think a true psychic medium healer, yes, they're going to get paid, but they don't do it for the glory. They do it because it's what they want to do. And I have always been that. And I've had people that have tried to set me up and think that, if they get me on stage, I'd fumble, and I never do, because I know what I know, and I'm confident in my ability of what goes on. And I know that I'm protected. And what I learned along the way, especially when it came to psychics, is I remember going to psychics, and I remember back in the day, they used to say, well, you're not supposed to know. I said, then why am I giving you money? Because I'm paying you to give it to me, because I'm not getting the answers. And that never happened again once I questioned them, because you don't pay somebody to say you're not to know. That you're not a psychic then. And that was kind of how I felt about it, is starting to see the fraud that's out there with people taking your money and then not getting any information. And then they had no integrity to return your money. And trust me, I have run across those people recently again. Not that they've taken money, but knowing who they are and what they're doing. And I also learned during that period is, even though I knew what was going on and I could understand and I could do readings for people, I remember talking to my partner at the time, and he was saying what he's getting. And I just dawned on me is like, oh my God, we all have that inner voice. We all have spirit talking to us, and he knows what he needs to do. Even if I disagreed with it, who was I to make that decision? And I was like, wow, this is really cool that we all have our own gifts, because I didn't see it that way back then. But we all had our own gifts, and we all have our unique talents, and allowing people to just trust their own intuition and trusting that they know what they're doing. And it takes a lot of pressure off when you trust your own ability. Because when I did tarot readings and psychic readings, the one thing I didn't like is I knew everything about you. I mean, the door opened and I saw all of it, and I didn't like some of the things that I saw, and I didn't want to go down that road. So I didn't. I mean, it was plain and simple as that. When you're recognizing what you love and what you want to do, you start developing your unique ability. So I think when I was really interested in the chakras, I did a lot of research into the chakras, what they meant, learning about it, if people talked about certain things to do, what they did, how they spun. I practiced it. I did all of it. And that's how you learn what works and resonates with you. The same thing with crystals. I have so many crystals in my house, it's unbelievable. But I love crystals. I don't necessarily work with them as much as I do, but I keep them, and they're mood lighteners, and they just make the house cleaner. And I still love my crystals. I will never stop loving my crystals. I think they are the coolest thing on the planet. When I got into essential oils, that was another thing. What can I learn? And it's about what fascinates you. So when I did The Akashic record reading, I love doing the Akashic record readings. I mean, that was such a cool thing to learn. Inner guide meditation, how to do various healing modalities. Those were very fascinating. And what I did is I found what I liked and what I wanted to work with or not. But it was just experimentation. And how did it feel? Did I feel comfortable? Did I feel like I could make money at this if I wanted? Did I want to go down this type of thing? And when you do that, that's when you know. But it also makes you a more rounded person because you have this knowledge base, and it helps to create that thread in your life of where you're going, to understanding that there's so much more. Because when I was in this, the spirit world wasn't really something that was very strong out there. It was something that maybe it's out there, but we're not sure, because we were very dense and still very 3D at that point in time. And so me working on this, it was 3 steps forward, 2 steps backwards. But I was determined to create this change because I knew I was a catalyst for change here. I didn't know what that was, but I knew that if I kept practicing and doing these things and studying, that I would eventually find my way, which I did. And right now we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. Your mindset shapes your reality. With Kathleen Flanagan's Mindset Blueprints, you'll learn powerful techniques to shift your thoughts, break limiting beliefs, and design a life of abundance and success. It's time to reprogram your mind for the life you truly desire. Visit KathleenMFlanagan.com and start building your new blueprint today. Welcome back, everyone, to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we're streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. Another thing that you may feel during this waking up process and beginning your spiritual journey is when you start getting feelings or trusting your intuition, you're probably going to doubt it, and that's normal. And you may also feel like you're an imposter. And I know that sometimes I thought I was, but I don't think I really believed I was. I think when I got into aromatherapy is when I really felt the imposter syndrome, because I was studying it and I understood it, but I thought there were other people that knew way more than I did. And there were maybe a handful of people, but it was so early on in aromatherapy when I got into it that I was one of the actual forefront leaders out there understanding aromatherapy. But I know I did feel that imposter syndrome, and because I created all these amazing products and they worked, and that's what got me. But I didn't fully understand back then this body-mind connection, how like in a scent, you smell an oil and it heals your body. I could not understand that yet. Again, we were in such a different time and the energy was a lot denser. Now it just makes sense, but it didn't then. And I just remember I just had to trust. I doubted a lot, but I trusted that it worked because I kept getting so many people telling me what it was doing for them. I know what it did for me, and I had to really trust that. And I finally surrendered that my stuff works. And I gave up the imposter syndrome. I gave up all the doubts. I just knew that it worked. And I remember making lots of different blends because I really love playing with the essential oils. They are so much fun to play with. And I remember I would make some of these really incredible blends, and some of them were very expensive because I used a lot of the precious oils. And most people weren't using precious oils, but I did because I knew that the higher the frequency of those oils would do that much more work for you. And I remember everything always sold, regardless of what the price point was. And I remember we were in Nevada at a show, and I had a bottle of, I think it was sensuality or some sort of essential oil for sex, basically. Just for the relaxation to really enhance everything. And this couple comes in and they saw it and they picked it up and bought it. And my ex-husband just comes up and he's like, "Do you know how much they just paid for that?" I said, "Yeah, I know how much they paid for that." And he was stunned because he didn't see any value in this, but these people did. And it made me feel good because everything I made, that if it sat on the table for a while, I knew it would sell, and it always did. And that was what was, and I trusted that. I trusted that these blends were coming to me, that they were meant for somebody, and they would find it when it was time for them to find it. And I did a show once where a woman asked me if I would make a specific blend for her. So I did. And I went home that night. I made the blend for her. And the next day I took it, and how it smelled for me. And when she took possession of that oil, that blend, it totally changed to her. And I was like, whoa, this morphed. And don't think that this stuff doesn't change and create around you and gives you what you want, because the minute you touch something like that, it becomes yours and your energy is imbued in it. And that was something that I would just be fascinated. That was how I wanted to do. So everything that I did when it came to spirituality is I was fascinated. I just wanted to learn more. I also know that where they told me, because I got to a point where I didn't want to meditate because it was so hard to come back to this earth, because I wanted to stay on the other side, because it was nice. There was love. It was all this stuff. And I always had to come back. So I did. And I realized at that point is I had to keep growing and learning. Now, I didn't understand all the darkness inside of me yet. I wanted to forgive my father and my mother. I wanted to get rid of the rage that I was feeling, the anger that I was feeling. And when I discovered that spirituality was out there, I actually felt better. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I pursued this path to the degree that I did, was because I really wanted to feel better. And in that evolutionary process, I just got stronger with my intuition. I got stronger with the gifts that I had. I just knew I knew, and I trusted everything, and I knew how to discern if I was like, if I did I was doing an Akashic record reading with somebody once, and all of a sudden this person shows up and it was like, who are you? What do you want? Why are you here? And they actually had to defend themselves and let me know who they were. So when the reading was done and I talked to the woman I was working with, she's like, oh yeah, this is so-and-so. And I'm like, okay, good. But I learned to do that because I figured if somebody's under, I know I needed to take care of them. I know that there's a lot of dangers when you're playing and you want to protect yourself, because it's not a game. Spiritual growth is not a game. It is something that is really out there, and there is a dark side to all of this. And so the more I meditated, the more I practiced with the tuning forks and seeing what the tuning forks can do, and then spirits telling me more about what sound does, it was amazing. And then I had dreams. Oh my God, learning how to do dream interpretation. That was so cool because I always had strange dreams. Now, I had some interesting dreams the other day, and I understood part of it, not all of it, but that's okay because I understand dreams enough. And if I need to know what the answer is, it'll come. And trusting that. And I also chose to go into the School of Metaphysics because there wasn't a lot of information out there, and I really wanted to get a handle on all of this. And I became a practitioner in the School of Metaphysics because it just resonated. It was like I got to understand what's going on up in here. I got to see that we're multidimensional human beings. I mean, I didn't know that. I just thought we were like these, one dimension kind of thing. I mean, because we didn't talk about that back then. I mean, I can't even tell you how much we did not talk about stuff like that and how different it is. But what was good about that is I was able to be around other like-minded people. So I wasn't like some wackadoodle out there having whatever experiences, because my mother used to think I was crazy and I didn't care. And I knew who her guide was, and I told her what his name was, and I would say he's standing there, and she'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever you say. But with me doing that, she started to understand and feel when her guide showed up. She would start having interesting things happen in her house that she didn't know could happen, but it was because I brought it to her attention. I would tell her things and she'd be like, yeah, you're crazy. and then find out that I wasn't crazy after all, because she was having those same experiences. She just wasn't open and ready to hear it back then when I was doing it, but it took her that time because she watched me grow and evolve. And I just trusted the process. I really didn't care if what my mother thought. I was going to tell her anyways, because somewhere I felt like I needed to help her save her soul somehow. I don't know why I thought that, but I did. I know now why I thought that, but back then I certainly didn't know how to do that. The other thing is when I started really going down and understanding more about this whole spiritual evolution, that I was able to start defining what my vision was, because I always saw a pattern of what I was going to go, and I just couldn't understand. It's like, why am I here? What's the right purpose? And even though I was being told over and over and over again what my purpose was, I couldn't put it together. It seemed foreign and outside of me at that time. When I look back now, it was, oh my God, everything I did has led me to where I am today. But again, it's a journey. It takes time to wake up. It takes time to move forward. It takes time to understand life. I mean, aside from what we have to learn with our bodies and how we are and that maturity that comes in, there's also that part of, as a spiritual being, learning that, where we learn to crawl and then we walk and then we become young little kids and young adults and all of that. And a spiritual journey is the same type of thing. It is a journey. It is not something that's going to happen overnight. Now, there's people coming in that are already awake, but that doesn't mean they know anything. They don't have the life experience. They just know. And there's a difference between knowing and experiencing life. And what I know is what I know because I experienced it. I didn't come in fully awakened. I had to learn how to wake up. And that makes, as far as I'm concerned, more powerful, because I actually understand the steps and understand that bigger picture. It also allowed me to keep moving into that vision that I kept seeing of myself, and which is here. And this is about the time that they said all this would be changing, was in this part of my life. And it really is. And I just had to trust a process. And as impatient as we are when we're younger, why? I mean, I look back now, it's like, why? I was going to get here one way or another. It was, come kicking and screaming or just ease into it. Then I started aligning more my daily actions with what my spiritual purpose is. So once I got very clear on where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do, which was in 2017, when Spirit said, you're going to come out in the world now. And it's like, oh, I don't think so. You're absolutely nuts. I am not doing that. I died too many times. I'm not going to do it again. It's like, but you're not going to die. And he says, yeah, I don't believe you. And I really, truly didn't. And I mean, the terror was literally up in my face. And I refused to go down that. But I had a coach at that time. And with her there helping me, I was able to create a lot of programs. And I'll go into that a little bit more once we come back from a commercial break. Are you ready to step into your true potential? Kathleen Flanagan's Get Into Alignment session helps you break through blocks, balance your energy, and align with your highest self. Experience clarity, purpose, and flow like never before. Visit KathleenMFlanagan.com and unlock the power of living in alignment today. Welcome back, everyone, to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we're streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. So in 2017, when Spirit said, you're going to come out and start being seen, and the terror that came up was unbelievable. And there was a lot of other things that happened during that, because that was my first water loss. That was when I had a predator and I had to take him to court. There was a lot of things, and there was a lot of anger. But it was also at the same time that I was coming out doing tip videos. I was explaining and sharing where I was at the time. And it was all met with resistance. And I did it anyways. And I really had to move through my fear, because I didn't like social media. I knew I didn't like social media. And I knew I had to befriend social media somehow. And it's taken years. Trust me, it's taken years. And I also had to learn how to really trust that process. And I was still a little ahead of the time for where I am at that time and the programs that I created. But I still know that what I have sitting on my website are invaluable programs. They're invaluable. And I know that they're really good. And one day they're going to really get recognized for what they are. And that's okay. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But what I do know is that I was talking about what worked for me, and I did a lot of different things. I understand a lot of different things. The Soul Journey course I put together, I was thinking about that again today, that I know it's going to go and shift and morph a little bit more. Don't know what that looks like yet, but it will. But a lot of times people want to be where everything is all happy and peace, love, and happiness with the spiritual stuff, but it's not, because there is a darkness. You will have that honeymoon phase, and then it's going to go into the darkness, because the light is now coming into the darkest recesses of your mind, in your body, where you've hidden stuff. And that comes up. And what I know today, you don't have to do that alone. And you learn to start forgiving people. You understand, you start seeing a bigger picture that you didn't know. And I remember when my father was just not a nice person. And I'm just going to leave it at that. He's just a very not nice person. And I always wondered why he was the way that he was. And I knew I had to learn how to forgive him. And the Archangel Ariel helped me forgive him. But I still didn't know what to do with it. I haven't seen my father in forever, and that's fine. But I didn't know what else to do. And then I remember talking to my sister one day, it was like right around Christmas, and she said something, and I went, oh my God. And it dropped in of what happened to my father. And a lot of times we don't know when people do injury to us, we don't know what happened to them. And so it all made sense about this whole thing with my father, with me, with everything that I know about him. And I understand it. But it is something that he's going to take to the grave. It's something that he's not going to deal with in this lifetime, because at this point, he doesn't know how to deal with it. And that's okay. I just made decisions that I wasn't going to let what happened as a child run my life and destroy my life, or remain a victim, because I knew that I had an opportunity to change that and grow from that. And my spiritual quest that I was on, my spiritual journey, was teaching me how to do that. And yes, it's painful. It was painful. But when the realization comes in, when you get to see the bigger picture, it's like, oh my God. Because the Archangel Ariel told me this back in 2008, is you don't know the whole picture. You can do what you want, but you don't know the whole picture. So you're making a decision on something you don't know the whole picture on. And I thought, well, that's a really interesting thought, because I always think that I know when I make a decision why I'm making that decision. And I think I have all the cards on the table, and discovered that I don't have all the cards on the table. So I learned not to be so harsh in making decisions sometimes, especially if it came with other people, and being a little bit more empathetic and understanding, and allowing people to be who they are, and not taking everything personally. Because that was one of the other things, is I started realizing that it's not about me 24/7. Sometimes what's going on, or if people are reacting or doing things, it's not because of me, it's because of them. And when I was able to start stepping back from that, that was when my empowerment came in. That's when I found boundaries. That's when I found my mouth. When I realized that it's not always about me. And thank God it's not always about me. But how long have I tortured myself thinking that whatever's going on and somebody's beating on me or diminishing me or whatever, it's like, wow, what's wrong with me? And it was them. It wasn't me. I just took it on, and I didn't know how to stand up for myself. And that's another cool thing about when you start elevating and bringing more of your spiritual journey in, you start finding out that you have value. And even if somebody said you were worthless your whole life, you start realizing, no, I really am valuable. And you start associating with people around you. And I started realizing that happiness was that inside job. I mean, all these things that I've been talking about since I have started the show has been one journey after another of a lifelong of trying to figure out who I am and why I'm here and what's my message and what's my purpose. I also found so much more love and joy and peace because when I started releasing, like, because I always brought in the same kind of man. It was always my father. It was always, and that's what we do because that's what we know. And I remember just when Sal walked in my life, it was like, who are you? And how did I bring you in? And I was grateful because he wasn't like my father in that what I had always known about my father. Now, yeah, there's similarities to him with my dad, but nothing like all the other men. I mean, this man has never belittled me or shamed me or mistreated me or anything. He's never done any of that. None of ever. And to me, that was well worth it. Because I never had that. I've always been belittled or shamed or whatever by the men that I've had in my life. And realizing, bringing that in and just like how good that feels. But I had to work really hard on myself because the first thing I wanted to do was send him on his way because I didn't think I was worthy and deserving to have him in my life. And I had to stop. And sometimes when we stop, and we really look at what our behaviors are or what we do out of habit or fear or insecurity. And I had to stop all of that and just allow and trust that I was worthy and deserving. Big changes. Those were big changes for me. And I had a lot of support during that period of time. I mean, I had friends of mine are like, Kath, this is what's going on in your relationship. And it's like, but I don't feel, and I feel this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm saying all these things. And he's like, but Kath, that's coming from you and your mind. That is not how men operate. This is how men operate. And it's like, really? 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 And it forced me to stop because a lot of people really wanted to see the best for me. And I had to see that. And in the last year, because I've been doing a lot of reflecting in the last year, because I've done a lot of growth in the last year and a lot of evolution has happened and is still happening to this day. And I remember my coaches always kept saying, you're in the big leagues, Kath. You're in the big leagues. You just don't know that yet, but you're there. And anybody who ever gets to work with you are going to receive so many invaluable gifts. And even though I couldn't see it and I didn't believe it because I was still like, I'm not sure who I am or where I'm going or whatever. After a year of my coaches, and I just realized, you know what? They're right. They're absolutely right. And the more I felt love and joy, and that was what was really important, is looking at those indicators, because sometimes we don't look at those indicators of, am I really where I'm supposed to be? And it's, how do you feel? And when you're doing that, you are feeling it, because I knew that even though I may not have liked being in Chicago, I never felt bad enough about being out there. I knew that this was someplace I was supposed to be because there was a lot of positive change and growth going on there. I was living in another dimension the whole time I was out there. And yet internally, I was battling my own self at the same time. It was just, oh my God, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And I survived it. Thank God I survived it. But what I have received from that time of doing that has been unbelievable. And the fact that my vision is back. I mean, I always could hear, I could feel, I could sense things, but my vision was the one thing that was shut off because my mother told me I couldn't see. So I believed her. And that's not true anymore. I understand where I'm going now. I don't, like, I can have an experience, not sure what it is. I don't give it a lot of energy. I go back in there and all of a sudden I understand where I'm at. that's what's so cool, that when you keep practicing and you keep doing this and you set your daily intentions of what you want to accomplish or where you want to be or how you want to feel, and you make that your number one priority, you start seeing the changes in your life. Because I remember being happy and deciding I wasn't going to let anybody take my happiness away anymore. That became a number one priority, and I watched my life catapult in ways that I didn't even know were possible. And those were just little things. I just wanted to be like, because Sal was always happy, he's always laughing. And I'm like, how do you do that? Why do you do that? I don't understand. I want to be like that, because people were attracted to him. That's what got me, is like, everybody loves Sal because he's such a good guy. Everybody loves Sal. I mean, when you meet Sal, he is like your best friends right off the bat. He's just got this very loving, warming, welcoming energy about him that you just want to soak up all the time. And I got lucky to get him. And that's what was so cool, is really allowing that to be like, it's okay. And we do learn from each other, because he's helping me to catapult, and I'm helping him to like trust more instead of being afraid and not doing anything and being very stubborn, because he's a Taurus, so he's very stubborn. And that's what's so cool, is that we are using our gifts for each other, and we're moving into other realms, so to speak. We're catapulting our own lives, and we're evolving very quickly, because as we keep growing, we keep getting closer. And it's just such a beautiful thing to see, because I've always wanted a relationship like that. I just didn't think that I would ever have that. And it's not where I want it to be yet, but that's okay. It's good where it's at. And as long as I don't take it for granted, and I love it every minute, it's just going to keep moving. And we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. Feeling overwhelmed? Take a moment to reconnect with your inner peace. Join Kathleen Flanagan's powerful de-stress meditation designed to help you release tension, calm your mind, and restore balance. Just a few minutes can transform your day. Visit KathleenMFlanagan.com and start your journey to tranquility today. Welcome back, everyone, to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we're streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. Connect with your higher guidance, and usually the easiest way to do that is, if you need help, ask. They can't help you unless you ask. I can't tell you how many times I talk to them, how many times when I'm laying my head on the pillow, if I can't find a solution or an answer, or if I feel like I need help, I'm always asking for their help. I'm asking for everything. I ask for everything. If I'm really stuck on marketing, I mean, I can't tell you how many years I've asked for help on marketing, of like, who's the major guru on the other side who could help me with marketing? And guess what? I finally found people that can help me finally and understand marketing. But it took a long time, but I wasn't ready fully during that period of time, but I still understood it and I got it. I wake up with answers, or if I miss something on something that I'm doing, Spirit will say, oh, you might want to think about this. And you go, oh, okay, that's a good point. I never even thought of that. And it's because I'm asking for guidance. If I don't know what's going on with me, I'll say, what is going on? Where am I? What's happening? Why am I feeling this way? And, I breathe. That's the first thing I do, is breathe and get myself calm, and then wait and see what unfolds. But the one thing that I think I've gotten most used to, and this is Marco. He's still here. We haven't left our little Marco. He's still with us. I love him. He's such a cool cat. But the one thing that, when you're asking for help and guidance, they are there. And then trust what you get. Trust that you're hearing them, because the more you trust and the more you say yes to them, the more they will help you. Because a lot of times they're going to test and see if you're listening to them. And if you say yes more than you say no, then you'll be amazed at what you receive during that period. And then serve people coming from authenticity. Open your heart. Talk to people from your heart. Get out of your head. And when you're talking to people or you're having an experience, just talk from your heart. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine last night. I mean, we're developing a friendship. Let's put it that way. I've met her last year. And I mean, we just talk about like everything. I mean, most people would freak out with what we talked about last night. And it was just so cool because it's like, wow, she really trusts me. She really trusts me to share this because this is so private and personal. And yet here she is sharing with me, and I'm doing the same thing with her. And it was just such a beautiful relationship of where you're making that heart connection with people because, you know, people lie all the time. They sit there and say they're making all this money when they're not. They say that life is going good when it's not. But when you can share where you are at the moment with somebody else, and yes, your life is good, but there are parts that suck. Okay. It's okay to talk about that. You know, this is good, but you're not using it to hold you back. You're just being authentic. And when you open and talk from your heart like that, if there are answers that you need, they come. They come because a lot of times they come when you're having conversations with other people. And that's what's so cool, because I had this really interesting thing happen yesterday that I did not expect. It came out of the blue, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'm thinking, I guess Spirit wants me to be at this event. And I didn't intend to go to the event because I didn't have any money, so to speak. And everything opened up, and now I'm going to this event. And I thought, well, there must be a reason why Spirit wants me at this event, because I knew I couldn't go. And they just said, it's okay. Everything is okay. Just trust it. So I'm like, okay, I surrender. And I'm going to be, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be going to 2 different events in 2 different states in 2 different weeks. It's like, okay, but that's okay. Because whatever this is I'm doing, I'm supposed to be getting out there and I'm doing it and I'm having fun doing it. And that's the main thing, is being able to do that. So I would say for you, pick something that you want to do, something you want to learn more about, and start that practice. If it's a meditation, if it's a gratitude, if it's start journaling, whatever it is, just pick something to just start and explore where you want to go. And then share your journey with people. I mean, I'm always here. I mean, people share their stories with me, and I love it because I have so much to share, and most people don't even know 1/10 of anything about me. So like when I was talking to this friend of mine last night, she was like, oh my God, you sound like somebody I know. I got to connect you with this person, because it's like there you have so much. And it's like, yeah, I do. And I don't care what people think about me. And if I'm going to share it, I will. If not, but just sharing that and allowing other people to come into your world is so amazing. When you can say, have you ever had this experience, and then feel like, oh my God, you did too. And you feel like, oh, I'm okay. I'm not so crazy after all. Because when you're feeling crazy, you don't want to share anything with them. And then join meditations and workshops, or get a spiritual coach or whatever. I mean, just really dive into this, because if there's things you want to learn, find the person that you resonate with. Get into meditations, go to workshops, because that's how I learned. I went to a lot of workshops when I was younger, and I learned so many different things, and I met some incredible people during that process. And it just made it more fun to do this when I wasn't on that journey by myself. Well, that is everything that I have for you today. I hope you got some value out of the show. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel, or give the link to somebody who you think might need or would like to have this. I would appreciate that. I am available if you wanted to have a consultation. You can go to my website and just sign up for a 15-minute consultation, and we can have a discussion about this. My books, Dancing Souls, The Journey of an Awakening Spirit, The Call, The Dark Night of the Soul, and Awakened, are on Amazon and Kathleen M. Flanagan. My website has all the services and products that I do offer. And if, again, feel free to reach out. And if you have any questions, I'm here for you. leave comments in down below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them, or reach out to me on the social media platforms. And that concludes the show for today. And I hope all of you have a fabulous week. And I will see you all next week, Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.